Okay. So, welcome to our second conversation about education and our children. We have some different moms and moms who are educators who kind of want to share their experience and their thoughts on, education and our children and kind of where it all begins. I have a 2.5-year old who is currently in a daycare setting, but it has a really strong curriculum. They learn a lot. They do a lot of activities. For me, I think it's really helpful because I don't feel the stress and the pressure to kind of prepare him for kindergarten because they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and a lot of what I have to do at home is just reinforcement. He's learning a lot of things that I didn't expect him to learn, but sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough when I see other people who have children who know different languages, or they're already in swimming lessons and doing all these different activities, and I'm just trying to find time to make sure I read a book at night. And so a lot of the women in the last group were actually single moms. That's so crazy because almost everyone in the group on Tuesday were all single moms who had a really, similar struggle of really finding that balance of how to do it all on their own. And I think everyone in this group is married or, engaged, which means we kind of have more help. Me, not so much because my husband's traveling right now, but eventually I'll have, a two-parent household where it's two of us trying to find time and balance and schedule, which is kind of like, it's like a different monster, but still a lot of work. And I think one of the things that I express is sometimes I feel like the pressure is all on moms. Like if something doesn't go right or something doesn't do to learn something, it's, curriculum wise, it's kind of on the moms, task wise, I feel like it's more on dads. So, how do you guys kind of feel about the pressure that's kind of on you to make sure your kids are where they're supposed to be by the time they get to, daycare, kindergarten, first grade or wherever? Because I know, Camila, how old are your kids? How old's your son now?
He's 4, so he would be going to kindergarten, but they're changing the state. They're changing the law in Michigan where you have to be 5 before September 1st, and his birthday's in October.
Hmm.
So he's in pre-K now, and all of his friends are going to kindergarten, but he has to go to pre-K again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so strange 'cause I feel like that's in every other state that's always been the law. So Michigan just okay. And what grade do you teach?
Right now, I'm staying at home with them, so it's kind of like a homeschool slash just handling business type thing. But before that, it was the second and third grade and middle school.
Okay, awesome. Akia, your son is about to be 3. Is he in daycare? Oh, hold on, I muted you. Hold on. Wait, how do I mute you? Hold on, Akia. Can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself? Yeah,
Is
go
that
ahead.
better?
Yes, go ahead. Go
Hello?
ahead.
Okay. Can you
Uh-huh.
hear me now?
Yeah.
So yes, my son will be 3 next month, and he's also in a daycare setting. But like you said, for your son, they do a lot of the heavy. They have a life curriculum for him, and sometimes it's very overwhelming as a parent because I don't really know where kids are supposed to be. I'm a nurse by trade, and I never have done any type of education. It's my first and only child.
Mm.
So I remember probably about 6 months ago when he came home, and they were like, "Oh, you need to start writing the letter A with him." I'm like, "Is this really important right now? Is it something necessary? Is that on track for him to do?" So I do understand what you mean, but his daycare does really prep them for pre-K and for kindergarten.
Hmm. Okay. Um, Nicole, how old's your daughter? Is she in the first grade?
Yeah, she's 7. She's in the first grade.
Hmm.
Mm.
And how do
Uh,
you feel like she's on track of where she's supposed to be?
she's ahead of the game. She's actually a member of her gifted and talented program in her school, so she's ahead of where she should be.
And did you do a lot of work to get her there? Or,
Yes.
yeah. So what
Yeah.
did you do? So that's helpful. I think, her being a little bit older than me, Akia, and Whitney's children, it's helpful to kind of get some tips on how did you get her to that level, and you're not, an actual teacher like Camila who kind of knows it.
Yeah, well, I'll say that her daycare really started it off for us. So like you, Ernice, like she went to a really good daycare that had a really good foundation in as far as education was concerned, and I really had to search for that. And that was really important to me because, I mean, having 2 degrees, I want my child to go further than me. I want her to have 3. So that was real important to me. When I found the daycare that I really liked, it was really just bringing all the stuff that they learned in school and practicing at home and making the time to practice at home.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a huge part of the struggle. Shanae Bradley just joined us from Pennsylvania. And Shanae, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. She's not a mom, she's an educator, so that's why she's a part of the conversation.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Hi. I have an early childhood education company called The Treasure Chest, and we staff teachers for parents and for child care centers.
That's awesome. I think that's probably most important. A lot of people kind of just hire off the cuff. A lot of, people aren't, searching like they may be searching for teachers with a strong, structure. So you definitely bring something to the table. So what do you think for us who have really young children, some of the things that we should be doing to kind of enhance their learning without kind of putting the pressure and the strain? I think that was one of the things that we had touched on Tuesday, is not over, putting too much pressure on our child where we're forcing them to do something, and instead of, we want it to be fun, we want it to, them to be a part of the process, but not like, do this right now, it has to be done. So how do we kind of get them engaged without, making them feel overwhelmed or ourselves overwhelmed?
Cool. Yeah, children learn through play. So anything that you can turn into a game is learning, and exposure is everything. I feel like if you give your children the world and, little pieces, then eventually it will all come together for them in ways that, we don't quite understand, but their brains don't work the same as ours. So play, interactive play, large muscle play, anytime you have a moment, I know it's really hard, but you sit down and you Google the 12 different types of play, and you find ways to incorporate, those activities into your daily routine. In washing, you use counting, introducing math concepts. Do you want the small cookie, the large cookie? Like, children are learning all of the time. So, as much as we can engage and, just kind of keep that process going, especially birth through 5, even in utero. But birth through 5 is, it's essential. It's where we dig the craters for learning later on in life.
Okay. Uh-oh. Sorry. So I'm trying to decline this call. So Whitney, I know, you have a young child like I do, but he's a little bit younger than mine.
Yeah, mine's a little wee bit. I'm sitting up here taking notes.
Right.
From what Shanae said, I'm like, okay, Google Play.
Right. So, when you, first got pregnant, did you feel the pressure of, trying to find a perfect place to put him, and then thinking ahead to the next level of like, okay, where's he going to go to middle school, or where's he going to go to high school, or those kind of things?
Absolutely. And from working at Healthy Start, I knew the importance of milestones, so I feel that pressure a lot now. Like, even like with rolling over, I'm like, okay, and I know there's like a broad window for that kind of thing, but I'm just like, is he rolling over on time? Is he, using his vocals on time? Is he doing this on time? And I actually chose the daycare where he's now because she had good reviews as far as preschool prep.
Mm-hmm.
It's a home daycare. The first daycare that I wanted, but she wasn't accepting infants anymore, was a bilingual Montessori daycare. And my second language is Spanish, so that's important. I'm trying to when he does watch cartoons, I try to find Spanish language cartoons. I don't have any Spanish books for him. I've been trying to find some Spanish books and things like that. And I wanted to start teaching him how to swim, even though he's only 7 months. But my cousin knew how to swim before he could walk. And then my youngest nephew, he's like a freaking genius. So there's pressure there, he can multiply. I don't know, I'm exaggerating, but he's 5 and he's freaking brilliant. And I'm like, okay, well, all right, I got to get him up to this at least. So
yeah, I think that's definitely something that I feel like there's just so much pressure, especially when you are educated and you do have, a degree, and your parents clearly did something to get you there, and so it's now this new pressure of okay, I have to make sure that my child is there. I think when my son first started daycare here in Texas, it was a lot of pressure to make sure that I was coming home every single night and practicing with him. And he had a really long day at daycare because I was working really long hours. And he would come home and be looking at me like, I am not doing this. And so it was just a lot of tension between us. And I'm hollering like, you got to write it, and he's just looking at me like, you're crazy, And so eventually I kind of stopped with the stress and started doing a lot more book reading. And then he wanted me to read 3 books a night, and I was sleepy. And then I started falling asleep, and I'm like, I can't keep up with it. So, finding that balance where he's very, we got to a point where sometimes I would come home, I would turn TV on, I would start doing stuff. Instead, I said I kind of slowed down. I would say, he would ask for the TV, and I would say no, and I would make him go play. And then it just kind of changed the dynamic. So once I finished dinner or I finished cooking, we could find some time to play or to read. I feel like I've slacked off a lot in finding time to read to him every night. And I try to do more things with him on the weekend because I'm just so exhausted. But at the same time, it's no excuse, right? He's 2.5, and I want to give him everything, so I have to be disciplined enough to kind of continue on that track. But I like what Shanae's saying about kind of integrating things into your play or into your, day-to-day stuff to make him feel like he's a part of it and he's learning. I think that'll kind of take the stress and the pressure off the everyday thing. One of the other things we kind of were discussing was really about discipline in education and how things kind of have changed. I was kicked out of school when I was in kindergarten because on the first day of school I beat up the teacher. So I do believe that discipline is necessary.
What do you mean you beat up the teacher in kindergarten? Hold on, let me mute myself.
Because somebody hit me, and then I went to hit them back, and she grabbed me, and then I had to kick her, and her knee, she retired, which was a good thing because I think they had let me start really early. I think I was only 3 because when I came back, I think I was 4. It was good. They were like, she's not ready. We're going to send you home. Try again next year. She's not ready. But then the next year I had the best teacher in the world, Mrs. Edie. I think she's still alive, teaching in the same class, in the same school. She has to be about 90. And she really taught me some things, really, that reading was important. I think that was probably the most important thing that she showed me at such a young age. But at the same time, I feel like they allowed me to come back, right? There was no love lost between the school and me. Now in this day and age, when there's a discipline going on, it's like you're expelled, like you're never coming back, and so I think as having a young boy, I worry about that. I worry about the discipline system in school and his self-esteem. I really worry about them sending him home for minor infractions and having to explain to him why he can't go back to his class. So Camilla, in your grades, and when you were still teaching, did you guys have a lot of discipline issues?
Honestly, I think it depends on the teacher. There is a lot going on in schools nowadays where I feel like a lot of the teachers are not qualified to deal with our children, and I feel like a lot of teachers are not really teachers in terms of in elementary school. In preschool and pre-K, I think that there's a lot more dedication. But today with the charter school movement and the privatization of schools and all these new schools popping up, teachers are not all of them, but a lot of teachers are very, very different. And so there was a huge difference between like the teachers who, it's their first year there and kids are getting kicked out of class all the time versus the veteran teachers who, they have discipline problems and they handle their business. Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of articles that I'm reading and that I'm hearing about, and that's kind of like having a boy who is black, who is very active now. I could just imagine what he's going to be like in a school system. Hey, T just joined us. She's also a teacher and a mom. What grade do you teach?
Hello, I've never used this before. Can you see me?
Most people haven't.
Okay. I teach 5th and 6th grade, and I teach in Baltimore City.
Yes. Okay. Do you have a lot of discipline issues in your school or in your class?
There are a lot of discipline issues that can be handled in my school. It's just the restrictions that we're given being a city school on how we can handle them. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not allowed to do as much with the children without it being us doing too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a huge difference because they used to spank at the school I started at. I never got a spanking. I just got kicked out that one time. But, they used to spank and, will hit you with the ruler and stuff, and that would kind of bring you back to reality. I mean, you don't have to do much to my son but put him in timeout, and he melts. I think timeout works better than discipline with him for whatever reason. I mean, the ignoring him or being by himself for a few moments, it just like breaks his little heart. So, I'm learning his discipline style. Snatching him up or trying to scare him does nothing. That put it in timeout, it just breaks his heart to where he just feels like, I'm so sorry, Let's see. Kia, do you have any concerns as your son is kind of growing and, eventually going to enter into, the school system? Are you focusing on trying to put him in a special school or a particular school?
I'm not necessarily focused on trying to put him into a particular school. We live, where we live at right now, the school system, the public school system is pretty good, so we want to continue on that. I'm not really trying to put him in a charter school or a private school. My husband's brother has been in a private school his entire life, and I don't really see any difference from where we live at. My concern is, though, as my son is growing, even now, with the reports that we receive from his current daycare where, Ami's fighting today, or Ami's hitting somebody, or Ami's saying a bad word, and just the way that he is being reprimanded at school compared to how we reprimand him at home, to make sure that it's consistent and that it changes that, incorrect behavior. So I am concerned about that as he matures and grows, along with his education and making sure that he's really receiving the foundation that he's supposed to receive. At his daycare, they do parent-teacher conferences in the fall and in the spring, and that's really important to me because we like to sit down, my husband and I, to talk to his teachers to see, what he's really supposed to be learning, where he's at, if he's below, on target, above, and then what we can do at home to reinforce what he's learning at school.
Mm-hmm. I think hearing everybody having that first good experience, in a daycare or even in an in-home setting is probably the most important thing. My son started in an in-home setting, and I thought she was amazing. She really pushed him to learn his body parts and his ABCs and little stuff younger than I would have even started to teach him. So I think, as a parent, I think the first big responsibility is finding that first place to put them where they're kind of going to be learning something in the beginning and keeping them engaged and not just sitting in front of a television. So, Nicole, how's your daughter as far as discipline and in school? I know girls can talk a lot. I mean, I did everything. So
that's her biggest issue is her mouth. But I can't really harp on her too bad for that because I had that same issue. I was that kid where it didn't matter where you moved me in the classroom. I was friends with everybody, so I was going to have a conversation wherever you moved me. Mm-hmm. So it's just one of those things when we get those notes home, and they have a color system in her school, so as long as she stays on green, I don't care if you move to the second green. As long as you're on green, we're good. Mm-hmm. When we start moving down to the yellows and the reds and the blues, that's when the discipline has to kick in at home. Yeah. And she has to understand that we mean business when it comes to school. and we stick true to our discipline at home. So Jade knows if you come home with a yellow face, a lot of times her face is already down by the time we pick her up from school. We already know what time it is, because she knows and she recognizes it. And it's really just being consistent all the time.
Yeah.
Like I can't be lax just because I feel bad or whatever the case may be. If you misbehaved in school, you misbehaved in school. You're gonna apologize the next day, and we're gonna correct it. If you're not gonna correct it, then the discipline will continue. And she's a child of consequence, so that's the only way she'll learn is through consequences.
Are you the primary disciplinarian or your fiance?
So I am the weak one. I will admit, and I feel that at times because he always gets on my case because he's always like, I'm always the bad guy. And I'm like, yeah, for the most part you are. I mean, and it's a difficult thing to balance between two parents. I think it's common in every household that one parent is more lenient than the other. My dad was more lenient in my household, and my mother was strict to the core, which is probably why I'm more lenient as a mother, because I had that very strict, hardcore mother, and I'm like, I don't want to be like her. But it's important that at least one of you guys are doing it, but at the end of the day, I always back him up. I always support whatever he says, and that's what is important, because she needs to know that we both mean it, and it's coming from both of us, even if he's the one delivering the message.
Exactly. That makes sense. T, how old is your daughter? What grade is she in?
Sorry, I can remember me. Summer is 3. She's in preschool. She's not. She is mostly in the class with actually the 2-year-olds. She's working on like her social skills, so I made her repeat being with the 2-year-olds again because she's very shy, and she also has a bit of a lisp and things. So I have her working with those kids so that she can feel like a bigger person and come out of her shell a little bit more. She is, however, going to pre-K next year, and I'm going to try out the city schools and see how it works with her going with the big kids at 4 and traveling by bus, because they do like a bus system where they get on the bus and they meet at one school and all go to another school for pre-K and then get dropped back off at my school. So I'm going to try that out for a year to see how that works. I'm having a little bit of a problem with her attitude. She has the cute girl issue, so everyone tells her she's cute. Her teachers treat her like she's cute, and so she doesn't like for anyone to tell her what to do and for her not to get her way, because she knows she's supposed to get her way because she can just smile and everyone's going to be nice. So I'm trying to see how the city schools are going to work out for her, because I'm seeing that her daycare getting close to the city is not really working well for her attitude, because some things that she does is not for me. I never cross my legs, and the way she sits and crosses her legs and bounces her knee like she's someone grown, and I'm just more concerned of what habits she's picking up from others. But then we're putting her into a regular classroom. I just want to see how it's going to work, and if it doesn't work out well, I'll probably put her back into a county school where I live.
Shanae, that's one thing. So my son's already talking about what boys do and what girls do, and it has a lot to do with being around older kids sometimes in the daycare that he's at. And he was like, this is for boys and this is for girls. And I've heard someone say that to him before. And it kind of concerns me that I just don't want him to be so gender focused. But at the same time, I also don't want him to be, to overstep the line. So, there are some things that are like, okay, this is for girls, or girls do that, or don't do this to girls. But, but I don't know, he's just said some things lately that have kind of rubbed me the wrong way, where I'm kind of like worried. And I'm a little bit concerned about, just how he views things, like, oh no, girls don't get that, boys do. And I'm just like, how do you figure, so how do you begin to start to sort out these like gender roles? Oh, and then he told me a few weeks ago that I was black. And that kind of, it was a good thing, but it wasn't. I was just like, what? And he was just like, Mama, you're black. And I was like, okay. I'm brown, you're brown, brown is good, we're good, you know. And we kind of just walked out the house because I just didn't know what to say. So, you know, when these kind of tough topics are starting to come up about race and gender and, you know, or like, you know, I'll put on perfume and he'll be like, I want perfume. And I'm like, well, perfume is for mommy. I stopped saying for girls and I started saying, well, perfume's for mommies, or, you know, or I'll get him like something that's like for my husband's and let him have a spray or something like that. But, you know, when you're trying to, you know, not make things so gender specific, kind of how do you start to balance that whole kind of conversation without it, you know, chastising them, I guess. Let's see. I can't hear you, Shanae. Did you turn your mic down? Your mic is on, but I just can't hear you. Nope. I can't hear you. Did you turn it down? When you went out and came back in, I didn't hear anything. We'll come back, okay? Try to figure out.
Oh, wait, can I?
Yeah, what did you
Can
do?
I speak?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, we can hear you. No, we can't hear you. Okay, Camila, go ahead. You go in on it and let's see if Shanae can come back in.
Well, my son, he started around your son's age, around like 3.5, just kind of, that's for girls, that's for boys. Boys don't do that. Girls don't do that. I don't play with girls. Everything was like gender, and he started talking about like race and things like that too, like you were saying. And I say embrace those conversations. Well, let's talk about it. What do you think? Do you think that boys do that? Why not? Why do girls do this? For us, I'm very like, you know, you don't push girls, period. You don't do this to girls, you don't do this to, and I'll even go as far as say like he'll say dang or what the heck, and I'll say don't say that around girls, say that around boys. You and your boys, you know, you have your little language, whatever, but around a girl, you know, you hold the door, you do all of these things. But as far, a lot of that talk though has died down. Some stuff he's still like, that's a boy thing, that's a girl thing, but for the most part I think that was like just a phase that he went through, because I was worried about it too, and then it just kind of died down. But with the race and the culture, we embrace it, especially everything that's been going on. Like, let me tell you what happened in Baltimore. You know, this is what happened. This is, some people think that, you know, black people are this. What do you think? Do you think that that's nice? Do you think that that's fair? Do you think that this police officer, you know, do you think that he should go to jail? And we talk about, you know, good people and bad people and how they're, you know, good black people, good white people, good da-da-da-da. And when we see, like when we're walking, like Shanae was talking about, using everyday learning experiences, like when we're walking, we point out different cultures, not like, you know, oh, look, you know, pointing, but I'll say, hey, do you see they, you know, they're practicing a different religion, or they're wearing X, Y, and Z. They're in a different culture. Their ancestors are from here. And so now his language, I feel like his preschool teachers really, really want me to send him to kindergarten, but I don't want to because he's a boy, he's black, you know, schools are not really advocates for black boys. So I'm going to wait. But his vocabulary is really, really large because we have conversations all day long. It's a constant. He's always asking why, yeah. And I'm always throwing it back at him. Well, what do you think? I think this. I don't think that. You know, anything he talks about, race, culture, you know, sex. Now that I haven't really figured that out yet. But well, no, not so much. He'll today he said that there was a dead body, and then he said, you know, that a girl kissed him and he liked it, and I'm like, okay, I'm not qualified for this.
I'm not ready yet. Shanae, you back on? Your mic back on? Yes, I see.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's crazy. I forgot the question. You know, I was
having conversations that seem a little bit polarizing, where I don't want him to feel like only girls do this and only boys do this and, you're black. And I don't want him to run up to someone saying you're white. Like, I don't want to be embarrassed. Like, I really don't want to be in that position where he's like, my mommy's black and you're white, and then I'm looking like.
Well, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. And that's okay. And that's okay. I think that gender neutrality is hard just in the culture that we live in.
Yeah.
And, like she said, embrace those conversations. Because children, they see the things that are the same, or actually they see the differences in a much bigger spectrum than they see the similarities. So, when they do mention the differences, it's probably something that's bothering them. And, to embrace it, it makes it, feel safe and comfortable, and you don't want to create any uncomfortability around, these topics, because that, I think, ultimately leads to, a lot of the acting out, especially, when they're just not feeling well about something, and it's not like they can say, well, my skin color is different from Johnny's, and, they notice the differences in treatment. Children are very, very observant. And, you just have to leave the conversation so open so that you can talk about those things and touch them and, let them know that they're okay. And then when they bring things to you, that you can be an advocate for them.
Okay.
Like, go to Miss Susie, like, Miss Susie, he feels this way. And that way, it leaves room for Miss Susie to check herself.
Right. Okay. Whitney, as far as, having a two-parent household, like Nicole was saying, there's sometimes a struggle, right? I know people all struggle as single parents, which a lot of the people who I spoke with on Tuesday, the moms are all single moms. And so they talked a lot about the struggles that they have. Do you feel like there's any differences in your opinions of education as far as between you and your husband?
Not much has come up so far just yet. I'm very big into experiences. Like, we're going to be driving to, like, New York this weekend. And he was like, well, why don't we just leave him, with my mom or with your mom? And I was like, no, I want him to go to New York. I want him to see, hear the sounds. Like, I know he's only 7 months old, but I just want him to get used to being in the car for a little bit and, going to, because he's very social, and I'm like, part of me feels silly, but then I'm like, you have to start somewhere with him experiencing things. He doesn't really get it. Jay doesn't really get it. But I'm hoping he will. As far as, like, schooling, I think we're pretty much on the same page. But Jay has his own plans of what Jackson is going to be, what Jackson is going to do. He's like, oh, I have to get him into this school and that school, so he can be in the best basketball program. And I'm like,
oh, Lord, here we go.
Right. I'm like, he may want to be a photographer. Like, like he may.
Yeah, that's definitely where I was talking about the other day, that I'm not really I don't really want to put my child in football. I'm sorry. I'm not.
I'm not doing football. And Jay knows. Jay, I don't think Jay wants to do football, but, like, basketball, he's like, he's got to play basketball. And I'm like, I'm okay with basketball.
Right.
As long as he wants to play. If he wants to play, fine. But I'm not going to force him to play. I mean,
yeah.
And I don't think Jay will either. Like, if he really sees that Jackson just doesn't like it, he's not going to make him do it. I don't think he will, but he'll be very heartbroken if he doesn't like basketball.
So just try again.
I pray every day that Jackson loves basketball because he will be so upset. But that's really the only thing that we struggle about. He feels like he's going to play basketball, like, for everything. So.
That's funny. T, is your daughter in any extracurriculars yet?
Yes. So she did gymnastics for maybe a year. She did gymnastics, and then now she's doing dance. Mm-hmm. I don't get to see her do her dance practice. It's connected to her daycare, so they pick her up. Well, they take her to another building at a certain time on certain days of the week, and she does dance practice. She's doing hip hop and ballet. Um, and so yes, she is doing dance. I haven't signed her up for anything else yet. As of yet, yeah. So I want to try swimming, but that's the only other thing I want to try out for her. But I'm more like some of the other moms. I just want her to see what she likes, tell me what she likes, and then we'll just go from whatever she likes.
Do you think that having her in the extracurricular is helping her?
They are definitely helping her socially. So for dance, for example, I don't go to her classes, so I have no clue how she acts in those classes. And when I got the picture back from their hip hop photo shoot, I didn't know who my child was because I wanted to know who was this little girl in the photo with her hip poked out and her knees bent. And they were like, well, the older girls did it. So when she saw that, when it was her turn, she just did it, so we went with it. But I was like, well, no wonder she came in the car so happy that day, because I thought it was because they put the little eyeshadow on her. And she was like, oh, no, because she posed like that. So me and her teacher are both looking because she's a very quiet girl in the classroom. Just to see her bring that other side of her out was really cool for me and her teacher, because her teacher doesn't know that person. Like, I don't know that person. And then with ballet, so I know she had her ballet photo shoot today, and I said, so how did you pose today? And she showed me. She sat on the floor and just smiled to the side. So, I mean, I think it helps her a lot socially. And, again, she's like all of the other 3-year-olds. She's asking a lot of questions, and she wants answers. She comes to work with me often, so she also thinks she's a leader in a lot of things, because when she comes to my job, she has to sit up with me. Even though she can't read the book clearly, she'll read to the class, and they'll sit with her. Or she thinks she has to tell them where to go and how to do things. So I think that bringing her around other people helps her a lot. She's an only child, and so she loves that. The only problem we seem to have is that she thinks that she needs to have that every day. So when we leave school, we have a hard time coming straight home. She feels like we need to go somewhere else first and then go home.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Okay. Nicole, is your daughter in any extracurriculars yet?
Yeah, so Jade dances. She was in ballet, tap, hip hop, and jazz. Now she's just
all y'all was my mom growing up. Nobody ever put me in there.
She quit hip hop and jazz back in November, and of course now that the new sessions have started, she wants to do it all over again. I'm like, nope, you gotta wait. You quit. You gotta wait till the next season starts. And she's also in Girl Scouts, so dancing Girl Scouts right now. But she wants to do gymnastics. She wants to play the piano. But I'm all like, look, all those things cost money, and mommy doesn't have money for you to waste to decide you want to go play for 2 months and then say, oh, I quit. I don't want to do it no more. So we'll tackle them one at a time.
Yeah. Kia, what do you plan on starting with, or have you already started putting your son in extracurriculars?
So he does soccer now. He started soccer at his daycare. They offer it. So once a week they take him out of class for about an hour to do soccer with him and all the other kids whose parents have did the soccer program. And he really enjoys it. We were going to do swimming, and we talked about it for a long time, but we just never got to it. I'm actually really excited for him to play some type of sport because he is the only child. Physically in the house, he does have a stepsister, but she's not there. And sometimes I feel like he has what I call the only child syndrome, where he plays by himself, he does little activities by himself, and I want him to be more social. I know that he doesn't have issues when he's at daycare with being social and talking and coming out of his shell, but I do want to see him in more activities, and I also think that helps him with just educational-wise and growth and development. He's doing really good so far, and his school has a camera system, so I can actually see him when he's out playing soccer.
Oh, that is awesome. I know. So you have a boy, and now you have a little girl. Do you feel like things are going to be a little bit different, and how you're going to adjust things because she's a little girl, and put her in things that you're interested in because you had a little boy first, or is there no difference?
Is this to me?
Yes.
I didn't hear a name. Well, he's in karate, and he's done yoga and drumming, and when he turns 5, then we'll be all into the football and the basketball and all of that stuff. Um, they're already very different. She's just turned 1, and she's already a little fireball. I don't really. um, I think for her, my biggest thing, I haven't thought about activities for her, but I think just in terms of, training a child up, that I really don't want to fall into like treating her like a doll. In terms of like she's a real person. I want her to be socialized appropriately. I don't want her to be treated like a queen bee from jump, feeling entitled, like she's a princess and she deserves everything. Yeah, and I don't it's very important to me that she, is not dolled up in makeup and at a really young age. Humility is so important to me, and I think that it's essential that my children learn that. And so, yeah.
Yeah. I always have some problems when I see like little kids. I mean, I know it's cute sometimes, but when I see little kids like singing words to certain songs,
Yeah.
like Drake, I really be like, I know this has like 2 billion views, but is it really that cute? Like, I mean, is it? Because my son, like, when the radio comes on and they start singing, I'm like, oh, back to back to the old people station or back to gospel. Like, I just never want to be that person whose child knows more lyrics than they know the alphabet. I really want my child to have a strong, academic. He may be corny. We sing a lot of like Disney songs and stuff like that, and he sings a lot of Frozen, and I don't care about stuff like that. But when it comes to like adult stuff, like my Adam's sister's here for a little while, and like she was playing something that was really adult, and I was like, that's not child appropriate. I felt so old. Like, I was like, when did I become this person? But at the end of the day, it's like, that's really important. Like, I have cursed in front of my child, and I literally like go to bed and I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna curse in front of somebody, and he's probably gonna curse at church, and I'm gonna feel, and I just feel so guilty because one, my parents never cursed. I don't think I've ever heard my parents curse until I was probably 18. Like, I don't think my grandparents never cursed ever in their life. So I'm here sitting here like, oh my God, I'm such a heathen, just really feeling bad. So like really, trying to keep him as innocent as possible, I think is what my goal is, in raising him, to kind of just keep him away from all of the adult things that I feel like, he really shouldn't sing about or speak about or, kind of talk about, which is always, a tough balance. I mean, I think everything really, really, really comes down to balance. Janae, there's some things that, you can kind of leave us with to really, as we go forward, all of our children are kind of different ages and, we're kind of all in different parts of the process, but, just something to really say, okay, this is where we should be heading and ensuring that we're kind of on the right track, or ways to measure to make sure we are on the right track outside of kind of school every day.
I don't know. I'm joking. I think that you guys, sounds like everybody, like when people love their children, and I haven't met well, actually I have, but that was when I was working in social services.
Right.
But
Okay. I don't know what just happened. The whole server just fell.
Yeah, that was weird.
Weird. Yeah, that was the first time that ever happened. Anyways, like I was saying, thank you guys for coming and, sharing a piece of your story about your children, which is always a personal. For whatever reason, the entire server died and everyone dropped off, but everyone's kind of back. For anyone who's joining us for the first time, I'm really excited to have you guys, and I really hope that, you guys can come back and join us next month. So the Ambitious Mom Conversations happen every month. Our Marriage Matters, for those who are married or in long-term relationships, also happen every month, the same Tuesday, and I'll send out like a little calendar invite and stuff like that. If you guys want to be a part of those conversations, our Marriage Matters conversation last week, it was deep, honey. We was touching places we didn't even know really existed. It was really fun. But sometimes it's good to talk to other moms or other people who are kind of involved in our children's care. It doesn't, to me, I feel like now I don't feel as much pressure and as much stress as I did before having this conversation about education, and I think having different people who play a part in our child's education who may not be moms like Shanae, they bring a lot of value to the table. So go ahead and finish what you were saying, Shanae, before I get cut off.
Oh no, I was just saying that extracurricular activities, exposure, like Whitney said, like he's going to enjoy New York City, and while you may not see, he's not going to be like, oh, that's the what is it? What's in New York?
Empire State Building.
The Empire State Building, but later on when he sees pictures, because you guys will look at your pictures from the trip, these will be things that he recognizes. So. The exposure is just so important. And as far as, your teachers go, it's scientifically, it's connection, not credentials. So especially in that birth to 5, if you don't feel that the teacher is connected to your child, you are the number one advocate, that, this may not be the place. And, I always tell parents that, no one else is going to do it. It has to come from you. And, it sounds like everybody, everybody's just doing their best, and that's all that we have to give. And congratulations and enjoy.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much. This will be the end of the broadcast, and we hope to have some of the same faces and some new faces in our next conversation next month.